What would become the South Coast Railway arrived at Bombo from Wollongong on 9th of November 1887. At this point, it did not connect to Sydney, the northern terminus being at the first Clifton station, which had opened on 21st of June that year at a site just north of current-day Scarborough. In fact, this Clifton was also named Scarborough during its life, and modern-day Scarborough was also named Clifton, but that's another story. Speaking of renamings, the name Bombo did not exist, in that form at least, when the station opened. It was instead named North Kiama. It was also the line's terminus, as difficult geology, including basaltic rock fingers like these, significantly bogged down progress extending the line to Kiama itself and southwards towards Nowra. As a terminal station, Bombo received a turntable and locomotive servicing facilities, and was renamed simply Kiama in 1889, recognising that it was the railhead for the town. It also received a station building and an out-of-shed upon opening in 1887, both of which are still here today, albeit disused since the station became unattended in 2009. The station building is in fact one of just 3 awningless weatherboard station buildings on the Illawarra line from the 1880s that remain today. The others are at Berry and the now closed Dunmore Shell Harbour. The signal cabin, made of precast concrete but painted to match the weatherboard buildings, dates from 1925 and was in use until around 2001. As the 19th century drew to a close, changes came thick and fast. The missing link from Waterfall to Clifton, which involved 8 tunnels, including the infamous Otford Tunnel, would open in 1888, completing the connection to Sydney. This line would be replaced with the current route in the latter half of the 1910s, but again, that's another story. 23rd of December 1891 saw a new station added between Bombo and Dunmore. This was the original Minnamurra, which on 10th of October 1943 was resited to its present location. On 2nd of June 1893, the extension from Bombo to Bomaderry via Kiama itself would open. This 35.8 kilometre line featured 5 tunnels and 7 stations, 3 of which have since closed, the northernmost of which was the present-day Kiama. Recognising this, Kiama Station, the one not yet known as Bombo, not the new one from 1893, had its north prefix reinstated. Despite no longer being the end of the line, it would continue with its terminus role until 1897 when the turntable was moved to Kiama, where it remains today. Whilst the South Coast Railway was planned to reach Nowra itself and then beyond, perhaps to Jarvis Bay, one of them's right, Huskisson, Bega and even Eden, it never crossed the Shoalhaven River, an obstacle that, unlike the basaltic rock around Kiama, remains unbeaten by trains to this day. In 1907, Bombo Station received its present name, the first time in its then 20-year history that it hadn't had Kiama in its name at all. That same year, mining began at the nearby Bombo Quarry, for which Bombo retains a refuge loop and siding. This ballast mine is still served by trains today, although unless you're a local, you're probably more likely to win the lotto than see one. I didn't. This one's in Bathurst. For much of this section's life thereon, it was served by trains running between Bomaderry and Sydney, including the South Coast Daylight and local rail motors. The Manildra Group's plant at Bomaderry began operations in the 1970s, providing a steady source of freight. Indeed, it still does, and they're the only freights to be seen here, following the cessation of any local freight and the dairy trains, a long-time fixture of this region, with the closure of the Gerringong Cooperative Dairy Society's siding in 1991. That same year, the daylight ceased, leaving Minnamurra, Bombo and Kiama served primarily by diesel multiple units between Bomaderry and the southern extent of the overhead electric wires, which at this stage was Coniston, although for practical purposes the trains ran all the way to Wollongong. On 24th of January 1993, the overhead wires reached Dapto, and the next year, Endeavour diesel railcars began to serve the line between there and Bomaderry. On 17th of November 2001, electrification... On 17th of November 2001, electrification reached Kiama, giving it, Bombo and Minnamurra a direct service to Sydney once again. Despite an announcement in 2005 that the wires would be extended to Bomaderry, they were not, and this southernmost part via Gerringong and Berry remains spark-free. Bombo has the distinction of being the closest railway station in New South Wales to the ocean. Indeed, Bombo Beach dominates this area and is popular with swimmers and surfers. The station's location, whilst scenic, does limit its passenger catchment, sandwiched as it is between the beach, the Prince's Motorway and the nearby cemetery. People are just dying to get in there, you know. In 2013, it was proposed that Bombo Station, as well as Minnamurra, be closed and replaced with a station between them in the more populous Kiama Downs, although like wires to Bomaderry, this has so far gone nowhere. All three of the stations we've looked at have names derived from Aboriginal Australian words or names, the traditional custodians of this area being the Wodi people, who spoke a variant of the Darawal language. In this language, Minnamurra means plenty of fish or sheltered camping ground. Bombo either derives from Thumbon, a renowned headman or warrior, or from Bumbo, which translates as thunder. Finally, Kiama means where the seas roar, fish caught from rocks, or is derived from the name of the father spirit of eastern New South Wales, spellings on screen now. Evidently the sea, and particularly the high number of decibels it produces, plays a large part in these names. And as we head back to Bombo, let's see if it can drown out the trains. Probably not, though. Sometime much later, and much further north, we're looking at the Como Railway Bridge, crossing the Georges River between Oatley and Como. There have been two bridges at this site, the first a single-line iron lattice structure designed by John Whitton and opening on Christmas Day 1885. It was to the same design as the one at Meadowbank, seen here, and included the original Como station at its southern end. The current double-line concrete structure opened to replace it in 1972, bringing with it the current Como station, but not before two utility pipes were laid over the original bridge between 1935 and 1942. In 1985, the original bridge was reopened as a cycle and pedestrian path and continues to perform these duties today.